Okay, where are we?
Sorry. Your line.
I froze.
Yeah, I saw.
Okay. Look, when I die, I don't want you to think I'm in a place like this. People live on after death. In the memories and stories of loved ones, they do not live in a graveyard.
Yeah,
Smith walks over to him while Evan and grandmother exit.
I'm ready to go home now, I guess.
Older Evan and Smith exit. Kyle enters reading a book. He sits legs crossed on the floor as he reads.
Kyle. Kyle.
Alice enters.
Ah, there you are. What you reading?
A book on Buddhism.
Of course you are.
It's funny how there are so many parallels between the Jesus story and the story of Buddha. Just a completely different way of approaching the faith. Christianity, Jesus is so high above us, we can never actually be on his level, but Buddhism is more attainable.
Well, I'm glad you found a hobby.
Why don't you sit under this tree with me?
Alice sits next to him.
Wow. Kind of like Prince Siddhartha sitting underneath the Tree of Awakening.
Wait, how do you know about Prince Siddhartha?
That's my book you're reading. Prince Siddhartha had a crisis of faith one day when he ventured outside the walls of his father's palace and saw the conditions in which most people lived. Poverty, despair, suffering, everything his father, the king, had tried to shelter him from. And so he decided to meditate under the Tree of Awakening.
Mara, the Lord of Hell, tried to lure him away from the tree, but Siddhartha remained and realized that suffering is a natural part of life. Accepting that fact is the first step towards nirvana. Denying that fact only leads to more suffering, more despair.
It is a beautiful day, though, is it not?
Yeah. Would you mind? I really would like to be alone right now, actually.
Yes, of course.
Alice exits. Kyle puts his book down and begins to meditate. Younger Evan is back on his computer, typing.
It was funny today. I was out in the yard helping my mother with her gardening. I hate gardening.
See, I like gardening.
Mother enters.
Oh, are you telling Kyle about that absolutely creepy thing you said in the garden today?
Yep. The little white garden markers we put in the garden to indicate what we were planting reminded me of tombstones. It's like a mini graveyard out there.
You are one sick and twisted soul. Sick and twisted, sick and twisted.
Yeah, I've always thought the garden markers look like tombstones too.
Really?
No, not really, but I can see it. Of course, gardens are kind of a place where death and rebirth, when you think about it, and that's why I love to garden.
It reminds me of the Greek myth of Persephone, goddess of spring. In the winter, she goes down under the earth to the realm of the dead to be with her husband. The flowers and crops wither and die.
And then in the spring, Persephone returns to the land of the living. The flowers and crops spring back to life in the same soil in which they died.
Kyle, dinner.
I gotta run. Talk to you later, hon.
Yeah, I gotta water the garden anyway.
Evan and Kyle exit as older Evan enters.
A few weeks after going to the cemetery with Smith, I went down to New York City to see a show. I still don't know what I expected when I went to the cemetery, but that's aside the point. I was walking through Grand Central Station to catch my train home. Grand Central is perhaps one of my favorite places in the world. I looked up at the ceiling and saw all the constellations painted on it. And there in the corner was Pegasus.
Kyle enters and stands next to older Evan.
And at that moment, it was as if Kyle was there, standing next to me.
Mother entered.
Fine. The person you met one weekend. Have a pilgrimage and sulk when you don't feel his presence. Do you ever feel my presence?
Every day when I'm driving and listen to a song we used to like, whenever I watch the news and start yelling at the TV, especially with the dumbass we have in the White House right now.
Right. I see where I rank as a priority. That's fine.
Wait, Mom, I'm sorry. I mean, I really do.
You are still so easy. So easy.
Vernon, burden.
Mother moves closer to older Eben and stands by him. Kyle takes older Eben's hand. By now, Alice and Janet are sitting by Kyle's computer. Alice is reading from a book of the complete works of Shakespeare.
When he shall die, take him and cut him out in little stars. He will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night. Pay no worship to the garish sun.
That's beautiful.
I went to visit his grave today. Tell him that Tim and I are having a baby.
That's right. Kyle introduced the two of you, didn't he?
Yeah.
Have you picked out a name yet?
Kyle, if it's a boy. Peg, if it's a girl.
Peg?
Peg. Like Pegasus.
But Peg's usually short for Margaret?
Yes, but Peg doesn't need to know that.
I stood there looking up at the constellations on the ceiling. I could feel Kyle holding my hand as he did all those years ago. As we drove around, and I showed him where I had grown up. The way his thumb would gently glide down the palm of my hand. And the twinkle in his eye whenever he went. I guess I felt what I had really hoped to feel that day in the cemetery in Canton. But such things can't be planned, can they?
Curtain. All right.